As we bring forth this child from a partnership between USAID through the E-Trade Alliance and BrighterMonday Kenya and other collaborators, this day is very important to us. Of course, we already started a few of the activities, but this marks the official launch for the e-biz kwa vijana project. So I know as we were engaging and interacting, as we prepared for this day, having invitations, we did speak to the objectives of the project, but kindly allow me to remind us just a little bit. So we do have three objectives for this project, and the first one is on upskilling. As Mark mentioned, some of the conversations we are having earlier is on sensitization around e-commerce. What do the public know about e-commerce? And we are learning a lot as we engage with MSME owners and young entrepreneurs that this e-commerce needs to be demystified so that they know how to use it to grow their businesses, to increase their business outcomes, depending on the metrics their businesses are measuring for success. And so one of the objectives of this project, the first one actually, is to upskill young entrepreneurs and MSME owners. We do have a target of 1,000, but we hope to reach more than those because, you know, the digital space removes the limits of geographic locations, removes the limits of who information can reach. And once we have trained these young people across different knowledge and skill areas, including digital marketing, including unpacking e-commerce for small businesses, including business strategy at their level, and also how to move business operations from brick and mortar operations to online trading. Once we have trained them, we don't leave it there. We do have quite a number of training programs that end at training. But for us, success is not at graduation. We move one step forward. And the second objective of this project is to onboard at least 60% of these young entrepreneurs into e-commerce platforms and digital marketplaces where they can actually put into practice what they have learned. So once we move from theory in class, then the next steps is to actually do it. And they will open online shops. They'll be supported by the project through the USAID co-funding and with BrighterMonday Kenya and the other E-Trade Alliance partners to ensure that what they have learned, they are able to not only grow their businesses, but also be able to create employment for other young people. Once we have finished the onboarding part, of course, it's very important for us to track the impact of what they have learned and what they are practicing. So we will be hand-holding them throughout this learning journey and also throughout the onboarding journey. We are not doing this alone. This is very important because it brings me to our third objective, that is basically engaging with stakeholders in the e-commerce sector. So what we have done is realizing that it will not be a success just because we've ticked the box of the training and the onboarding. This child that I mentioned earlier, my CEO this morning said it takes a village to bring up a child. And so our fellow villagers are other e-commerce stakeholders, and we have reached out to different partners. Some of them were these e-commerce platforms that I mentioned and digital marketplaces to be able to curate a learning journey for them that is inclusive. And so they receive then practical skills with collaboration with these stakeholders. And other than just collaborating towards project success, we are also opening up collaborations around discussions on how we can better improve operations within the e-commerce sector. So what obstacles are we facing and what can we collectively do to then tackle these challenges and ensure we catalyze growth in the sector. So please allow me to throw in a few numbers of what we've achieved so far. As I mentioned, we have already started mobilizing the young people and sensitizing them about the project. And so far, just to show you how much interest there is out there, there's a lot of hunger for information and knowledge on this. And we've already hit the 2,000 mark in terms of those who are interested to join the project. which is like 200% of our initial target. But of course, we are also doing a screening just to make sure that those people who are receiving this support and this training actually meet the criteria. So, you know, they have a business running. You don't have to be online already. We do know or have come to find out that some of the beneficiaries that we will get under this project could be people who already have online presence, but they have not received any technical assistance or any hand-holding to help them optimize that online presence that they have. So we have first-timers in the online trading world, but we also have those who have been there but have not been utilizing the resources and tools to optimize the outcomes of their businesses. Out of these 2,000, at least 35% of them are female. We do have a target for this project, which is 40%, and so we'll be curating messages and mobilization approaches just to ensure we have more women entrepreneurs joining the online trading space. We also have 4% of them who are persons living with disabilities. That's because this project is very keen on inclusivity and ensuring, as we talk about this growth of young entrepreneurs in the e-commerce space, we are leaving no one behind. And we also have at least 40% who have now started the learning journey, and we have onboarded the first cohort, which is made up of 267 students, some of who are in this room today, to come and be part of this milestone that we are celebrating. Allow me to mention our fellow village mates that I said have come in to help us collaborate and implement this project. We have the African Talent Company, who are also a part of the E-Trade Alliance through Rome. We have Google Kenya, who have assisted us with curating the digital marketing content for the young entrepreneurs. We are working with Pigiami, Kilimall, Gigi, and Jumia, who are e-commerce platforms and digital marketplaces that are assisting us with the onboarding of these young entrepreneurs, giving them relationship managers to help them through this journey, but also throwing a little something to give them incentives to join the various platforms. What is special about this collaboration is giving options to these young entrepreneurs without forcing them into one direction. So they interact with all these platforms and they choose which ones, not which one, but which ones work for their businesses and their different contexts. We are also working with World International with our upskilling partner and Light for the World who is our inclusivity partner. So ladies and gentlemen, with those few remarks, I again welcome you this morning to this e-biz for Vijana project launch. Looking forward to interacting and engaging with you, not just today, but as we walk along this 12-month journey of this pilot phase of the e-biz for Vijana project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Babu. And I'd like to also acknowledge, I think there was someone who made a comment earlier that in this space, because it's all about collaboration, there's a need for building or putting together associations for the stakeholders and the sector players, just to safeguard your interests. So let's talk to someone who is, in a way, looking out for that in his own capacity from the E-Trade Alliance.
He helps coordinate that. And this is Mark Lawrence. He is representative from Palladium. So give him a hand as he comes up stage.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this exciting Kwa Vijana project launch event with the E-Trade Alliance. So my name is Mark Lawrence, and I'm a senior manager in our Inclusive Growth and Nature unit at Palladium, and the project director for the Kenya Investment Mechanism, which has brought me out to Kenya and luckily allowed me to share in this great event as well. I'll pause there for a second. So within the first 10 minutes or so of this event, we've introduced two Marks to you, and maybe that's why I was invited here, just to make things easier on everyone to remember names. Palladium, along with the Next Trade Group, are the lead implementing partners for the USAID's E-Trade Alliance program. On behalf of Palladium and the Next Trade Group, I would like to thank BrighterMonday Kenya for hosting this event today, and our anchor funding partner, the U.S. Agency for International Development, for making this possible, and Mission Director Gosney for representing the agency at this event. I would also like to thank our esteemed representatives from the Government of Kenya. So Sylvia spoke very well about this particular initiative under the E-Trade Alliance. And I want to take a step back a little bit and talk about what the E-Trade Alliance is and represents. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with the E-Trade Alliance, we're a global development alliance consisting of 13 private sector companies and the U.S. Agency for International Development. The alliance utilizes the resources, capabilities, and funding available through public-private partnership to design and execute projects that generate economic growth in target countries. The core mandate of the E-Trade Alliance is to facilitate economic opportunity and growth through digital commerce, otherwise known as e-commerce, with a particular focus on enabling micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises to utilize e-commerce for business opportunity, income generation, expanded market access, and conducting cross-border trade. And this actually aligns very nicely with the other work I've been privileged to work on within Kenya of trying to help facilitate businesses to expand and achieve all the impact that is possible for them, both in terms of economic possibilities and improved livelihoods and access to jobs. In delivering on this mandate, the Alliance focuses its project work in 5 key areas. So public policy environment, skills development and e-commerce capacity building, logistics and last mile delivery, digital payments and access to finance, and inclusive commerce and trade. And that means we must include traditionally underrepresented groups, such as women, youth, people in rural areas, and people living with disabilities. Through Palladium's broader work on inclusive growth, I've seen the importance and impact of digitization of service delivery, finance, and last mile delivery for economic growth, efficient service delivery, and the creation of jobs. So I'm very happy to see this initiative. As part of the skills development and capacity building workstream, the e-biz vijana project aims to equip Kenya's youthful and enterprising population with the skill sets and resources necessary to create businesses and start selling online, and to fill the jobs demanded in Kenya's growing digital economy. BrighterMonday has developed an exceptional program with targeted cohorts, a needs-based and research-informed curriculum, an extensive monitoring and evaluation plan that will take course over the course of the project. Not to mention, as a job matching platform under their parent, the African Talent Company, they're well positioned to know the professional skills in demand. For these reasons, we've been delighted to partner with BrighterMonday Kenya on this project, and we aim for this work to support the growth of Kenya's economy and to catalyze similar future programs. On behalf of Palladium and the Next Trade Group, I'd again like to thank USAID for their support on this project, and we're eager to launch this critical work, and I look forward to hearing the robust discussion today at the panel session. Thank you very much.
Thank you to my namesake, Mark, representing Palladium and E-Trade Alliance. And let's get some insight in the context that we're working with, and who better to do this to give us an overview and a good perspective of the landscape, because there's some research that has gone into this. So let's put our hands together and invite BrighterMonday CEO Chris Otundo for that.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. I'm now going to go into the hard part of this session, which is usually the introduction. There's quite a number of names to go through. But I truly stand honored with a sense of pride and excitement as we gather here to launch the groundbreaking e-biz kwa vijana project. This incredible initiative, co-funded by USAID through the E-Trade Alliance and implemented by BrighterMonday Kenya, has the potential to transform the entrepreneurial landscape in Kenya and empower the youth to thrive in the digital era. I'd like to acknowledge our visitors, esteemed dignitaries, David Gosney, representing the USAID Mission Director, Kenya and East Africa, Honorable Alfred K. Ombudo, who's the Principal Secretary, State Department for Trade, represented by Fanuel Kidenda, CEO of COMEX, Kenya National Multi-Commodities Exchange, a representative from the PS, from the Ministry of ICT, Bwana Stephen Karanja, representing Engineer Tanui. We are honored to have you with us. Colleagues in the marketplace space, representatives from USAID, friends, once again, good morning. Like I said, that is really the hard part of this session. It usually can be a tongue twister. But all of your support and your participation in this launch is truly testament to the importance of the e-biz kwa vijana project and the impact it can have on our nation's future. Today's launch marks the beginning of a journey aimed at equipping our youth, aged 18 to 35, with the necessary tools and knowledge to expand their market opportunities through online trading. In a rapidly evolving digital age, every young entrepreneur deserves the chance to shine, harness the power of technology, and unlock boundless potential. The e-biz kwa vijana project has 3 critical objectives, which my colleague Sylvia has so graciously shared with us. But what is exciting this morning was just seeing the collaboration, seeing some of the challenges that you all face that are very similar, and again, agreeing on what next steps are. But in a nutshell, we're looking to train the 1,000 young people in the next couple of months. We're looking to onboard about 600 and to foster collaboration. The e-commerce landscape in Kenya has seen significant growth and disruption, creating new and more efficient market pathways, especially for youth and women in the country. With rapid adoption of e-commerce in the government's emphasis on digital trade, the sector's potential to improve livelihoods and create jobs has never been more evident. However, what was evident this morning is that challenges still hinder young entrepreneurs from fully harnessing the potential of e-commerce, including access to finance, digital skills, and innovation. Today's panel, which will be discussing inclusive e-commerce, bridging the gap for MSMEs and young entrepreneurs, will delve into the current state of e-commerce landscape in Kenya and explore areas where we can do better to ensure inclusivity. As we move forward with this project, guests, we aim to connect MSMEs to suppliers, processors, buyers, and other actors to open access to valuable market information, link to sources of financing, improve product quality, and enable products to be tailored to meet specific demands. By embracing all the components of e-commerce value chain, we can effectively navigate the digital landscape and create more opportunities for our youth. In conclusion, I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you, guests and dignitaries, partners, supporters, who have made the e-biz kwa vijana project possible. We truly hope that together we can shape the future of entrepreneurship in Kenya, foster innovation, and inspire a generation to dream big and achieve even bigger. I look forward to the panel discussion as well, where industry experts and actual entrepreneurs will share their insights and ideas on how we can collectively create a more inclusive e-commerce ecosystem. Thank you very, very much, and welcome.
Thank you, Chris Otundo, BrighterMonday CEO. I'll hold on to that. I'll hang on to that. The microphone, please. Chris, thank you. Well, unless you want to join us on the panel, Chris, you're more than welcome. We'll have a panel of 4, as has been mentioned, and if the gentleman from the technical sound team could just assist me in having a microphone to each of the chairs, because I'm about to introduce them, and as I do, we'll just have them on standby. I have one already here, and as I call them up, I'd like us to just have the microphones on the standby for them. It's okay, you can come and set it up. It's all right. Karibu, karibu. I won't ask you to give a speech. Don't worry, my brother. So, as you've heard, the conversation is all about e-commerce inclusivity. Let me just change the sitting position of my chair just so I can face you and acknowledge you as well. After this conversation with our panel of 4 from different sectors and demographics, we'll give you an opportunity to ask questions. It doesn't have to be a question, it could also be giving your contribution from your point of expertise or experience. So please assist me in giving a hand to the panelists who are now joining us for the next hour. And you won't notice that the hour is gone. So to Bwana David Gosney, you're also invited to ask a question or to the representatives from the ministry, even to give your commitment. We'll give you a microphone, it'll be roaming, and you'll give your contribution right after. So we have representation from the MSME space, we have representation from marketplace, we have e-commerce platform representation, we have a young entrepreneur who also is an entrepreneur living with a disability and will give us an insight on how inclusive the space is for them, and a young entrepreneur who's just starting out, and just to tell us what challenges there are for the youth in this space. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let me start with the young entrepreneur, Sylvia Wajiro. She is a co-founder of EcoFresh Cleaning Services. Sylvia Wajiro, please join us. Karibu, give her a hand as she makes her way to the panel discussion. She is also joined by Reynold Jue, Bwana Reynold Jue, MSME Authority Assistant Director. Let's give him a hand. And representing Gigi, and that is the marketplace representative in the conversation. Let's give a hand to the regional manager, Mr. Maxime Golubev. I hope I haven't baptized you. Mr. Maxime Golubev, Karibu. I also want to invite Samuel Mwangi. He is joining us and representing Fenac Enterprises. He is the CEO there. Let's give a hand to Mr. Samuel Mwangi as he joins. And also joining us will be Helen Nganga. She was in the conversation earlier this morning where we were talking to the different challenges that we have, and there was a discussion and a brainstorm to help people get some solution and some pointers to what we can work towards. And a common theme for those who didn't join us in the morning session, I managed to catch on a bit, is that there is a big trust issue. And perhaps those representing the government can be able to do this. Because there also is besides the fact of delivery of service from person to person, there's also the environment that we work in. And it doesn't help that just last week there were cases of what you'd call cyber attack. And I believe we even have representation from the Communications Authority, some of the regulators. This is the environment that we work in, and it is the reality of the market. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is not something to bury our heads in the sand. We are operating in an environment that has threats, and these are some of the things that we would want to also acknowledge. Let's give a hand to Samuel Mwangi, the Fenac Enterprises CEO, joining us on the panel. Bwana Samuel, asante sana, and microphone you hapo inakungoja. And perhaps even as Bwana Samuel settles down, I'll start with Sylvia. I believe you're the most youthful representative on the panel. Nothing to the rest of us here, don't you worry if you're past the age of 35, but as a youthful representative, because we're talking about inclusive e-commerce and bridging the gap for MSMEs and the youth in this space, has it been, or have you experienced at least, a guiding hand and support in joining this e-commerce space, especially as Eco-Fresh Cleaning Services co-founder?
Hello.
You could just press it, bright green button. Yeah, I think it's on. Is it green? You're good.
Hello, everyone.
You could take mine.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sylvia Wanjiru, the co-founder of a cleaning company called Eco-Fresh Cleaning Services. To move to the question, I didn't get any guidance when starting a shop, an e-commerce shop. Actually, the first thing I did, I opened a Facebook account, and I've been using it for quite some time. Then I experienced another challenge. After 1 year period using it, my account, Facebook account for my company was hacked. So I have been having so many challenges, and since I started going on and on, I found BrighterMonday, and so far so good. I'm not yet there, but I believe at the end of the period, I'll make a progress.
Thank you. We need this one on. Let me use yours, Helen. Or we can at least get another one on, because this one is green, but it's not working. But from the youthful representative here, and you've heard it for yourselves, that she didn't quite get the guidance that she would have used to get into the e-commerce space, but thanks to BrighterMonday, there has been some support moving forward. Perhaps, Bwana Samuel, you can tell us. Now, I hope umepata microphone hapo. You could pass the microphone to Samuel. You turn it on. On? Is it green? Yeah. Bwana Samuel, did you switch it on? Just press long and hard. Yeah. Yeah, it's on. All right. I could still pass mine. To Bwana Samuel, nitakupa mic yangu siogopi.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's give a hand to Golubev, our assistant sound engineer, as well. Can you hear yourself? But Samuel, you as the founder of Fennec Enterprises, you could tell us what it is about. And as you do that, if indeed, just like Sylvia has said, you've gotten some support to get into this e-commerce space, ama imekuwa pambana na hali yako?
Check. Hi everyone, my name is Samuel. So to answer you, first of all, for my condition, it's acquired. It's an acquired disability, and I always say, as long as you're alive, you're a victim to getting sick, getting an accident. Yeah, so it's a club anyone can join. So as for me, I've always had support since even before the condition. I got the condition. My dad was always involved me in his endeavors, businesses. I didn't start the business after I got the condition. I was still in business. It's only that now, when the condition came, I had a derailment. So getting back on my feet, coming to build now my foundation on Fennec Enterprise. That's where now I would say it was a bit challenging before I met my colleague Mark Gitonga, and I joined Light for the World. So Light for the World really took me in, went through business skills, and I've really learned a lot from the year program, and now they've enabled me like to get to where I am. I would say I've had support. Also, Fennec Enterprise, it's a limited company, so it deals with tenders also. Other than the poultry farming I'm engaged in, I'm also I'm also an IT guy in cybersecurity. So when Jiro said about her account being hacked, I don't know what to say, but there are always loopholes to getting your account hacked, and not only Facebook, even other Instagram, even your phone can get hacked. I'm also doing cloud security and network security also. So I'm happy that through this movement, I got to even, before then I was just in pottery, and now I have now IT background, and I would say I'm happy where I am.
Unless you're not hearing what he's saying, I think he deserves a hand for the resilience that he has portrayed, and it calls on all of us. I mean, there is the environmental and sectoral challenges that are there, but beyond that, there's what he has mentioned as having acquired, because he has been in business and he was in business even before, but the resilience and just adaptability that he has shown and portrayed deserves, you know, an applause, and we congratulate you on that. And Helen, you know, as Jumia CMO, and you could tell us, as you hear the challenges for those representing the youthful sector and MSME sector, how can e-commerce platforms, you know, enhance or be tailor-made to meet the needs of MSMEs and the youthful demographic?
Okay, good morning everybody. It's lovely to see you all here. So my name is Helen Nganga. I work at Jumia. Jumia is a marketplace, and I sit here to help navigate some of the challenges that we face, or even people on the platform face. So I think the first thing, as a marketplace, we've been around for about 11 years now. And I think there are 3-4 things that we can help the youth avoid that we had to experience ourselves. And the first thing is that comes to mind is in terms of training. I think if we would come together as aggregators who've done e-commerce business for a while, we can help navigate the ecosystem. I mean, what works, what doesn't work, what do you really need to do? And for Sylvia, I think that is a part that we, as the pioneers of e-commerce, failed you as you started your business. And I think that's one place that we can kick off and just equip the youth with the right knowledge, with the right tools, with the simple how-tos that help them do business in the platforms. And how do you protect yourself from cyber security? How do you, just basic things that you're able to do to avoid the things and the frustrations that you've gone through. So just for a start, I would go with training.
Capacity building, and we've even heard from Samuel that he's gained from that in many ways. People who have held his hand and trained him in terms of best practice that is ongoing, and you know, just comparing with what is happening in other jurisdictions. Because within the e-commerce space, much as there are issues of domesticating to the needs of the Kenyan populace, there is as well, we're in a global village, so there are things that we can borrow as well from the international best practice that is at play. And to Bwana Reynold Jue, who represents, you know, government in a way, because you're from the Micro and Small Enterprises Authority. When you hear these challenges that are being given or at least experienced by the youth, or by those living with disabilities, you could tell us what indeed you do as an authority to enhance, to safeguard, to support this demographic in bridging the gap for e-commerce.
Thank you. My name is Reynold Njwe from the Micro and Small Enterprises Authority, a state agency mandated to promote and develop the micro and small enterprise sector in the country. As part of the conversation that we're having today, as MCA, one of the things we did, especially during the advent of the COVID, we did a survey, and one of the ways most entrepreneurs actually built resilience to survive the pandemic was through leveraging ICT or e-commerce platforms, that is, and social media platforms to actually sell. Because during that time when we had the issues of COVID in terms of closing shops and also the curfews and so on, so most of them transited to online platforms and their social media platforms to actually train. And that is one of the things we saw during that time. So based on our survey, as the authority, we came up with a program known as the Future in Digital Program. This is a program aimed at training digital literacy skills for entrepreneurs, both young and old, in the micro and small enterprise segment. We've been able to train on digital literacy skills in one of our centers of excellence. We have a center of excellence known as Kariobangi Center of Excellence, where we do entrepreneurship and business training. So we added a curriculum and a new program known as Future in Digital Training, where we train on digital literacy skills. And the training is for free. Anybody who can go to the center can be able to be given the training. It's actually on a daily basis. So that is one of the ways as government that we came in to actually enhance and to promote, because we saw digital literacy is one of the ways that now entrepreneurs can actually tap into that space. And it's one of the avenues that they used to actually become resilient and not close shop during the pandemic period. And as part of the future, I think brick and mortar might not be the most convenient way in terms of costs. And to be able actually to reduce on cost, actually we might need to go to the digital literacy skill. And I totally agree with the Jumia person. Skills on digital area are not that adequate, and I think we need to enhance more support through more collaborations, through more partnerships, so that we can enhance their skills in terms of how they sell, how they get markets, and how they bring more customers into their pages so that they can be able to sell more. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And to Golubev, I believe you have a microphone. You can pass this one on to Golubev. You've had experience and you've had the insight and perspective, not just in the region, in this region, but even the West African region, on the continent, and you understand the patterns and the trends. Jue has just mentioned the onset and at least the uptake of digital platforms to market products, to market services, especially after COVID. As you know, digital marketplace, Gigi, what are some of the changes, at least, or at least now, what value do you give the vendors, keeping in mind the alternatives that people have? You've heard what Sylvia said. She took up to the Facebook platform to market her service. What value add do you now offer the vendors in this new changing ecosystem?
All right. Thank you so much for inviting us, first of all. My name is Maxim Golubev. I am the regional manager of Gigi, and let me just tell you a few words about Gigi. Gigi is one of the leading classifieds platform in Africa. We are currently in 6 African countries, and Kenya, Nigerian markets, Ghanaian markets are the major markets for us. And yes, we are taking the strong part into the developing the MSME experience in e-commerce space in Africa. We have more than 50,000 MSME in Kenya. We have more than 100,000 MSME in Nigeria. And I believe we, let's say, we are on the same stage with our colleagues, and we are doing quite a lot to develop and create the best experience for the MSME in Africa. Let me just mention that we have our founders are from Ukraine, and all our team is currently in Ukraine. Still, after the aggression, under the war, we're still working and kinda building the one of the biggest e-commerce space in the world. We live in Africa, because we know that Africa will be at least 40% of the world population by 2100, right? And I don't know, it's a big opportunity for all of us, and that's why we are building this service here. And what we have done extremely simple thing that I believe, but that anyone can adopt. But in general, we have done an extremely, we built a tech platform that enables safety and trust on the customer side and on the seller side. I cannot say that We've done everything 100% properly, and well, no one can assure you that, but I can say that we are like one of the most trusted platforms in Africa, and trusted by the small and medium-sized businesses. We have enabled AI and the machine learning to understand how the scammers and fraudulent activity is built in Africa. We know how it has been done in Nigeria 8 years ago. We've been doing it in Ghana. Now we are doing it in Kenya. We have the huge and wide experience on how to prevent the fraudulent activity and the scams, right? So this is number one that has been done. We are constantly doing the trainings for small businesses and small enterprises anywhere, right? In Nigeria, we have 500 people team who are going to the field every day, talking to the small businesses, explaining them why do they need to enable their data, why do they need to have the active smartphones, and why it's easier and better to use their online sources of leads so that they can reach the possible market, not only the country market, but the worldwide market, right? So this is the job that we are doing constantly in Kenya. We have more than 100 people who are doing it on a daily basis. We are building the platform for everyone. We want MSME to be free, and we want to open up the market for everyone. So we don't limit people to use our platforms. We are so happy to invite everyone. We are so happy people to come and explain how they want to see the platform and how do they want it to work. We are constantly getting the customer, we are constantly doing the customer development in terms that I'm personally talking with the customers in the field to figure out what is the needs. If the customers wants to see the delivery option, we go to the market and look for the delivery options for them. If the customer wants to get the financing, we go and work with the financial institutions, but definitely it could be better. Definitely if the government and definitely if any other organization wants to partner with us, we are 100% open, and we are constantly looking for the partnership. We are constantly looking for the opportunities, and as I just mentioned like 1 hour ago, invite us everywhere. We will draw courses, we will create an education, we will come to the institutes, to the universities, we'll talk. Let us talk, because Gigi is enabling entrepreneurship. Gigi is building the entrepreneurship. We come to the shop, and you should see it. When we come to the shop, we just explain why people need to do the business, why they need to enable the online sources of leads. And it's fantastic. It works for us. It can work for anyone. We are free to share it. Let us talk and let us partner.
I mean, take homes for me. First of all, I think he also and the Gigi team deserves a hand as well from what they're facing back home, which is HQ, and is still being able to scale and grow. That says something. Let's give them a hand to Gigi and team. And it also speaks to how the e-commerce space can continue beyond boundary challenges, because we're in a global village. And he's also given the insight about the growing population of Africa and how this is going to be the focal point for many. And I hope we're taking that note, because e-commerce is only going to grow. It's not going to shrink. It's only going to grow, with the challenges or without. But would you see, and it's just a quick question, and I'll throw it as well to Helen, would you see the uptake of online platforms? For instance, Sylvia would say, I'll market myself on Facebook. I'll open my own Facebook account, I'll market myself. Do you see a challenge in the terms of alternative to vendors, possible vendors, and service providers to the Gigi platforms, or do you see it as an opportunity?
I'm happy to meet the competition, and I'm happy to meet the opportunity to work with smart minds and to basically enable this discussion, right? We are not the only one platform here. We have great platforms and great marketplaces built across Africa, right? And by enabling and by growing the education from the customer, by building the education in the universities on that topic, right? We can make even, we can create the possibility for the local entrepreneurs to create such a great platforms which are already here, right? And we work with them. We are saying that there is a huge lack of opportunities and there is a huge lack of services for us that don't allow us to grow as much as we want, right? There is no services that our customers are constantly looking for. We get inquiries every day on how to do this and how to do that and how to basically deliver their goods, for example, right? And yes, we are trying to help them to figure out the right source and the right service. But definitely it's difficult because we want to know that there is a trusted service, the certified service that is that will provide the best possible service for our clients, right? And we cannot just recommend anything from the whatever has not been tested. So that's why we are like 100% open for these collaborations, and let's observe it together with the different government organizations, right, with authorities, even with the NGOs. We are working constantly with the NGOs on how to empower the women and how to empower the youth. Recently in Ghana, we've opened 20,000 accounts for youth to sell their goods online. We can do it in Kenya. We are open for that, so let us know.
And Sylvia, as well as Simon, I'd like you to think of how you would want the digital market spaces to support you, or at least what your experience has been. To Helen, speak to, and this will answer a bit of that question, how you help MSMEs and youthful entrepreneurs in the e-commerce space, you know, in product listing optimization, marketing their product, and you know, basically scaling and penetrating the market. Why you, for instance? How do you support them?
Okay, I'd like to speak to the question on the opportunity within competing with Facebook and the rest. So the e-commerce proportion of retail across Africa is at 1.5 of total retail business. So if we look at a country like China, they're at 25%. So in terms of opportunity, the more the players, the more people are adopting to e-commerce, the better for us, because it means the cake is becoming, the share of the cake is growing. So main business for us is growing. And that means we become a preferred choice for route to market for any business. So in terms of competition, it is welcome. And we want many people to get into the e-commerce. We want the same people walking into Naivas to shop online. So that now we know that now we're in competition, and that means we get the attention of the regulator, everybody, that we can be part of the route to market for whichever business. Back to your question in terms of how do we support the SMEs to grow on the platforms. We do a lot of investment in marketing because, again, awareness is still low and we still have the trust issue. So it means we need to invest in driving awareness. So we do this both offline and online. And by offline, I mean traditional media, your TV, your radio, your billboard, to drive awareness, and in partnership with the brands that we carry on the platforms. And online, we have Meta partners in the room, we have Google, so we are buying ads there to keep the conversation going. But we also have Jumia advertising services because we are a marketplace. So if I want to buy shoes, probably there's 1,000 or 10,000 other vendors who are selling shoes. So how do I distinguish myself? How do I make myself stand out from everybody else? So what we do is we offer you a solution to boost your products, where if I'm searching for shoes, I become the first option. And it's very affordable. It's for as little as 1,500 shillings per month, where you get to boost your products and you get to see the impact of this, of doing business online, which is, if you compare it to owning a shop front where you have to pay for rent, to hire people, it's quite an affordable cost for you to be able to do online business.
Sylvia, you have the government representation here, you have the authority here that is essentially meant to safeguard your interests, the stakeholders that are here. What is your ask of them? They've said they want to build your capacity in training and what have you, but on a practical basis, on a day-to-day basis, as you know, your Eco Clean services that you co-founded, what's your ask of these authorities and these stakeholders? You could just hand her a mic.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to ask a question to the government. You say that they are starting training the SMEs, but my question is, there are some people that they cannot be reached. There are some people, like for example myself, actually the first thing I was looking for is someone to mentor and to get basic skills on how to open a shop, commercial shop. But most information you get, they're not satisfying. And for the government, there are so many young women, young men out there, they are confused. Some, they don't know where to go. And because I heard you saying you're open, you have a walk-in where you can go and get training for free. Actually, I have had it for the first time. So I can imagine we are many. So for me, you were supposed like to do marketing, media, for us to know and for us to grow, because for young entrepreneur, we suffer so much. Yeah, some, they lack resources, like to advertise in Jumia. It may be difficult for someone to get, especially for a startup, to get 1,500 to advertise. But so far so good. I was in Facebook, and I can say, and I can confirm that e-commerce is really helping, because 90 of my customers are from Facebook. I get calls. So I was imagining if I was be able, or I got a mentorship, where I am today, maybe in a span of like 1 year, I'll be somewhere else. So I wanted to know, how are you planning to reach young entrepreneurs, and how are you planning like to reach out? You know, you can be in one place, but we are everywhere, and we don't have information about that.
Let's have Wananjue respond to that, because you are an MSME, representative, at least the authority looking out for there. She says she's learnt it from you today now, because she's on the panel, that there's free training available. How do you reach and market that?
Thank you for that, Sylvia. I think I would agree somehow with that. I think awareness creation about government programs and actually sometimes even private sector programs that are supporting MSMEs has not been done to the level that we require. I think the government has been doing a lot. Maybe it's the awareness creation on some of these programs that has not actually reached a lot of these people. What I can say as part of what government is trying to do, if you look at the government plan, that was the plan, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, the specific priority area on MSME, the government plans to have business development centers in each and every ward. So these business development centers are going to be centers where now all this information that Sylvia is asking, if you want to start up a business, if you want to know what it requires in terms of regulation, licensing, if you want mentorship, and so on and so forth, they will be located at least in every ward. That's the plan that is there. What is currently ongoing, we already have some of these centers in some of our counties where we have staff from SEA who are actually providing support to young businesses and business entrepreneurs on the same. For example, the center that I talked about, the Kariobangi Center of Excellence, we have what is known as a Biashara Center of Excellence. This is modeled under the Huduma Center concept, where we'll find all entities that are actually in the business enterprise, in government, in one space. That is the KEBS, the KIPI, and these people are there to guide you in how to set up. If you want to standardize your products, you'll find the KEBS person to train you and tell you what standard certifications require. You'll have the KIPI person. If you have an innovation, they will take you through how to patent and how to do everything. So we are trying to replicate that model, the Biashara Center model, across all counties. It's something the government is planning so that we can be able to reach more people. The other thing, I think, apart from now the brick and mortar, we're looking at the online presence. Some of our programs, especially entrepreneurship training and capacity building, to be curated online so that people can be able to access the programs online without having to actually go to the center itself. So the programs are supposed to be curated and put in an online setting so that now most people can be able to actually get the services, as we also plan to set up the centers in almost all the constituencies and all the wards. So I agree, creation of awareness has not been done much to actually sensitize the youth and MSMEs on some of the programs that government is doing to support entrepreneurs. And I think we'll try to up our game and actually provide more awareness creation, because there's a lot that is ongoing. We have programs that are providing grants to young entrepreneurs so that they can start business, and so on and so forth. So I think we'll do more on awareness creation so that people like Sylvia who want to start and have nowhere to start from, they can actually visit or go online and find somewhere to actually get the information they require easily.
We could call this a commercial break, and I'll give you a chance, an opportunity to up your game, because we're live on that camera. So you could tell people where they can find the online training opportunities as MSME Authority, and where the physical Biashara Mtaani offices are currently.
The online one has not yet been set up. It's
All
something
right.
that is ongoing. It's still work on progress.
Okay.
Currently, we are located, the Biashara Center of Excellence is located in Kariobangi, light industries.
Okay.
We have a center of excellence that we use it as an incubation facility and a training center, where we incubate, train, and also provide technological transfer and skills. We provide common user facilities, machines. So if you want to be trained on how maybe to do oil, edible oils, you can come there and you get training on
Just walk in.
Just walk in.
Yeah.
So we usually advise people to come in as a group, either as an association, so that we can have more people. But you can walk in, and if you find a training, you can be able to be trained. Within that center itself, we also have the digital skills research training that I think it's done daily. So you can go register, and when it's, they tell you when they have the next session so that you can come, and it's usually done for free.
Okay.
So it's located in Kariobangi.
Usually done for free, so sometimes?
It's free. No, it's not usually. It's
just to clarify, because you're live.
Yeah,
someone might want to take advantage and say, the 50 bob person.
It's free.
Okay.
The digital skills research training is free.
Sylvia, is your question answered? Or Wananjue? Yeah? Partly?
Yes, it's answered.
All right. Thank you. And I think you threw a question that Helen and Golubev can answer, because she did mention that there is, the advertising opportunity at 1,500, yeah. And she did mention that much as that might seem within reach, there are many youthful entrepreneurs in the e-commerce space who can't quite afford that. So in terms of really providing something that is more inclusive for the youth, what can you speak to that? And Golubev, you could probably say something as well.
Okay, I think just being on Jumia, you already have a ready market. Like on a daily basis, we have 500,000 visitors every day. So just access to that number of people. So this boosting only helps you reach, like even like in terms of visibility, but just being listed gives you an audience that is already existing, a market that you did not have. And I think it's the same for you.
Yes, thank you. So basically, 100% agree with you. Having such a huge audience, definitely it comes at a cost, right? And definitely it requires a huge marketing expenses to bring and to build that audience trust to come to the marketplace. But talking about Gigi, I'm not promoting Gigi, but I'm telling that Gigi is completely free. You can come and post your products for free without no cost. And you can reach such an audience depending on what products you sell, right? Depending on how you promote your goods, depending on how well is your products look like, right? But definitely once you post your products on Gigi, we have a big customer support team that is main task to call and to empower the entrepreneurs on how to make correct pictures, on how to make the right description, and how to make, I don't know, how to make your ads attractive, right? We can even look for the partners who can help you to do that. So, I mean, it's all up to you, right? If you are looking for the opportunity, it's here. And also, very interesting initiative from the government. I'm really thankful for the government for setting up such a centers. And once you set up the centers up country, also we empower you to let us know as well, because we would take a strong part in the working out and building those business development hubs. And also, extremely interesting part that on the regional side, not Nairobi, that GG is free completely. Like, we don't charge. You can post as many products as you want. You can post 100 products, you can post 500 products. We empower the regions, the small regions, to start trading, right? We don't want to limit them on anything. Understandable that Nairobi is a hub, CBD is a hub, right? This is the place where the business is happening. But when we talk about some areas like, I don't know, like Nakuru, Kisumu, there is no trade online. We don't see the trade online. I don't know from our colleagues from other platforms, but from our side, we don't see the online trade happening, and that's why we are ready to invest and ready to help our customers to use our platform on a higher scale than Nairobi sellers.
And Samuel, I'll give you an opportunity just to have your ask to the stakeholders as well as the government, just as Sylvia has. But there's something you've mentioned, and I want you as well to speak, since you're in the digital markets space. He's mentioned something about the radar in terms of uptake of GG, and you'll speak for Jumia, within the country. Map it out for us. Nairobi is big. Speak to the other regions. Where do you see the concentration and the lack thereof? You've mentioned Nakuru. I'm a bit surprised. I thought it would have had a take-up of GG and the services that you have. Where do you see the concentration, and where do you want to scale? Map it out for us, at least from GG's perspective.
Yes, thank you so much for a good question. I think that's the question supposed to come not only to us, but the authorities and for the people responsible for the general urbanization of the country, right? We see some hubs for the e-commerce, like Nairobi and Mombasa, for some specific categories. I'm not talking about all categories. If we are talking about the automotive category, it's extremely strong in Mombasa, right? If we are talking about property, it's strong in Mombasa and Nairobi. People have more access to the internet. People have more access to information. The information is circulating around, right? But if we are talking about, I don't know, some areas like the north of Kenya, right? Or like some very far areas that are not near the main regions, the understanding and the trust into the e-commerce businesses is extremely small. Even some people don't have the data, they don't have the infrastructure available for the e-commerce. I'm pretty sure that the infrastructure in telecom can help us to grow the business and can help us to grow the awareness regarding the e-commerce, safety, and why they're supposed to use it. And the second one, the infrastructure, the transport infrastructure, right? Some areas are extremely difficult to work with. I'm not sure about which areas are, because we don't work with the transport companies. I'm pretty sure our colleagues from Jumia can say that, but Nairobi and Mombasa, yes, it's quite difficult to deliver and sell goods. But let's talk about Western Kenya. Is it so difficult to deliver your goods where there is no addresses, where there is no, I don't know, some other critical infrastructure that is required for these goods to be delivered? So that's the question, not really to the e-commerce platforms, but e-commerce will grow anywhere.
Yes.
Depending on the infrastructure. You let us know where we need to grow and we'll be there.
And we do have representation from the government, we do have the authority, and we have communications authority, Fauzia, my good friend here from Safaricom as well. They are part of, you know, the big players in making sure that it reaches the people, the infrastructure reaches the people. And I believe we have them to thank. We could give a hand to them as well, you know, market leaders. This is not a plug. She didn't M-Pesa me, but you know, you can do that. We have communications authority, the government. It goes without saying, you open up the market through infrastructure, physical and otherwise online, and it follows. They pick up. From Jumia's perspective, where do you see the bleeps? Who's on your radar?
Okay, so 2 months ago we did a rural penetration study to see how far that is going, and we only discovered only 15% of the population is doing e-commerce. And it's e-commerce in whatever, is it WhatsApp, is it Facebook, is it? So it means 85% of the population outside the cities is still back into the store brick and mortar model. So meaning education is key as to, number one, address trust issues. I'm used to buying my TV from Mark because I know Mark and I know where to find Mark. So how do I convince you that it's okay to buy it off your phone and it will be delivered and it will come and it will be the right thing? So that is the conversations that we're having. So what we've done is that we have offline agents who are relatable and within like every corner of your neighborhood that you know, they help you place your first order. And once the first order is placed and delivered, then they're like, okay, this is a thing that I can do in the future. So it's just a matter of gaining that trust and working with people that are familiar. So we have a team of J-Force agents, the Jumia Force agents that come to you, will come to your neighborhood. They will show you where to collect. So in terms of logistics issue and accessibility, what we've done is, in some areas we don't do door delivery. We have a pickup station at a central location so that it's delivered to a place that is accessible to you and you're able to pick up your TV and set it up and you're good to go.
All right, and we'll speak to the collaborative aspect and what are the options that we have. There was mention of associations and what it can deal with in the market, trust issues. Samuel, as FENAC CEO, the business that you do, and at least the challenges that you face, you're not asking for any favors because you're ready to do business. You're just asking for inclusivity and a place at the table. And with that in mind, from where you sit, we have the authorities here, we have the stakeholders here. What is your ask of them as someone in the e-commerce?
Thank you, thank you. So my ask is about inclusivity, as you've said. So I'm really concerned if these are platforms, e-commerce platforms, if they're inclusive. So what I mean is, for example, at my academy, where I'm doing my CCNA and network security, so there are different people with different disabilities. So you find I might be good at doing something, but how about the other person? How is he or how is she in terms of accessing, for example, the materials or reading materials? And I'm asking this because you find at the academy, the softwares we use, for example, to maneuver through our PCs, you'll find there is a software called JAWS, but it's for Cisco. It's for Cisco. So when it comes to, for example, Gigi, how is it in terms of, is the platform inclusive for people who are visually impaired? Like, how does one get to maneuver through the platform, considering that person will have challenges in terms of visual, like seeing through or reading through the screen? So, for example, the JAWS by Cisco helps the student to, at least when their screen is moving to the next page, there's always that AI that is reading in between the lines. So, and that JAWS, you can't use it on another platform except for studies. So how are you taking that challenge? Yeah.
Golubeth, you could go for that.
Yes, thank you so much for this question. That's some of the questions that we definitely need to discuss here. And that's why I believe such a sessions are extremely important for all of us to consider what's happening on the market, what type of audience, and what kind of issues and challenges are you meeting, right? So definitely, e-commerce sector is growing, and all of us growing time to time, right? And some audiences, and the audience in general is growing, right? So we are happy to hear that you are sharing some feedback that would be extremely important for us to work in future, for example, or we can even work at it now, right? But definitely for that we need to have more input. We need to understand what is the size of the audience. We will have to understand what features you require for that, right? We don't know that. We conduct some researches, but maybe that's not enough. That's never enough, right? The market is growing so fast, and thanks to Kenya and in general, Kenya is a great market. We cannot say that the market is somehow uncertain or whatsoever. The market is growing, and that's why the new challenges are coming up every day and every month, right? Trust me, we've been working in different markets, in different countries, and we've seen how the markets are growing and exploding, right? And we see such a potential in Kenya, and that's why we are here, and we are here to listen, and we are here to change. So that's all I can say.
We could have a comment, especially for the people living with disabilities, how the MSME authority is factoring in their catering for their needs. Even when you set up those business centers, the physical ones or online, how are you accommodating them, or what's your plan for them?
Okay, yeah, thank you. I think as government, that's one of our key targets, that we need to be inclusive in all of our programs. In whatever programs that you undertake, you must ensure there's inclusivity for PWDs, women, youth, and ensure that they are catered for in all of that. So as we say, in all our structures, in all everything that we do, we ensure that we provide supportive facilities for the physically impaired, and even for our online platforms, it's a requirement that you provide, even on our websites, support, like for audio, for the blind, and so on and so forth, so that they can be able to navigate your website easily. So those are some of the requirements. We are still working on, for our website, we're still working on how to ensure it's inclusive to the visually impaired. It's still work in progress. We've not yet finalized on the audio module, and also even for our service charter and everything else, we ensure we have a service charter also in Braille in all our offices, so that any person who's blind can be able to come and be able to understand the services that we provide for them. In all our centers, we provide for ramps and supportive ways for the physically impaired, so that they can be able to be access the trainings that we also provide within the physical spaces that we have. So it's something that, as government, we take it seriously, and it's one of the key targets, I think, in all government institutions, that you must be inclusive in all of the programs and activities that you undertake for this marginalized group. Thank you.
All right, Samuel, are you content with that? I don't know if Helen would want to speak to it in terms of that demographic, people living with disabilities, how you accommodate them as an e-market space. Not to worry. But these are some of the conversations that people have. Do you have one more?
Okay.
One more ask. You can ask.
No, not an ask, but in as much as this is discussed, so I would want it's more of a request, like action to be taken. You get me? Yeah.
Beyond discussion, let's
Yeah.
have some action points.
Exactly.
And that's a good point now to segue into having people ask questions or contributions. We had a mention on those who are in charge of the infrastructure. We could have the sector players. We have some of them represented here. We have representation from the authority, communications authority. We could have comment on that. And even stakeholders, people who are in the business and they're really trying to penetrate. They have some challenges. You could bring it up because a good challenge has been brought up. Beyond discussion, we need some action points, and perhaps even we needed someone to sign on to something to say we commit to doing this moving forward as we launch e-biz kwa vijana. You were there for the talk, because now we're wrapping it up, and I'll ask people for the last comment. In the name of collaboration, because that's what we need moving forward. Much as we have Jumia, Gigi represented here, there's still space for representation. There's the aspect of trust, and perhaps people, believe it or not, I'm one of those who are a bit apprehensive about online engagements, especially when there's money involved, except maybe for money transfer. But there's a trust issue. In the name of collaboration, there was the recommendation for associations being formed. Would that work in your view? Is that something that you feel would deal with the trust issue? Because we'll have a center point for accountability.
I definitely support that, and I think I speak on behalf of Jumia on the same. Because number one, it will help us lobby, especially with government, to just make sure that we have regulations that support e-commerce. I don't think that is in place now. I think we're still working with trade policies that did not include the digital era. I think it's time to edit those to include us in that. And I think that's the body that would sit in that panel to be able to help us formulate this in including our needs in that forum. And then number two, it's in terms of payment. I know payment is a big pain point. So payment solutions that protect our customers, protect our vendors against fraud, against the conning culture that we've seen within the e-commerce space. And I think that's a place where it's a good place for us to start, to be able to put in place policies that protect us and our consumers.
Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. I think you're hearing the points here, and if you want to speak to it, you just raise your hand, and Mike will come to you because we want to open it to the people. In terms of associations, from Gigi's perspective?
Yes, we 100% agree with that idea, and we believe that a lot of professionalism and a lot of expertise has been gained over the years. With Jumia, for example, with us, with other e-commerce players, that needs to be shared, that needs to be discussed. We want to build the inclusive market, right, in general. We want to build the market which is open for the new ideas, and who else supposed to share these ideas rather than the experts who has done tons of research on that market and who has gained such an expertise that will be definitely in use for the government and for the general audience, right? So we are 100% agree that the new players supposed to be created. We are 100% agree that there is some players that's supposed to cover some certain infrastructure are not yet created in Kenya, and that's the topic that we are ready to discuss with our partners, how to build those opportunities for Kenya, how to structure those companies, and how those companies should operate. What law should they follow, right? Basically, depending on the expertise that we have gained over the years. So thank you for this opportunity.
Bwananjue, as the MSME Authority Assistant Director, this conversation of collaboration within the e-commerce, how are you going to facilitate it and, actualize?
Thank you for that. I think I totally agree. I think partnerships, collaborations, associations is one key ingredient to actually support this initiative. As you've seen, we have a lot of programs that are ongoing, and people are not aware of them because people are doing things on their own. But if we come together, it will be easier for us to actually work together and build a whole value chain, so that if I can be able to take an MSC up to this level, my next partner can take them to the next level, so that we form a partnership that creates a whole support system that does not just leave a particular program at a specific point, but to ensure we take them to the final level where they need to be. And I think as government, we are ready and we are willing to partner with everybody to ensure that we provide a good ecosystem for our MSMEs, so that they can have a conducive environment to trade, to do their businesses, and earn their living and also their livelihoods. So that's one of the key things that we will focus on also in the next period. As you've seen, government has also been focusing more on PPPs, public-private partnerships in various areas, in various programs and various. So this is something that we take seriously, and we are all in agreement that we need to push it forward and take them into actionable things and not just come together and then we don't action what we need to do. So I think beyond the partnership, they also need to do the action-oriented partnerships. So I think I agree with everything, and I think as government, we are ready to partner with all stakeholders in the MSME subsector to be able to enhance and promote and support these people to grow so that we can have large enterprises out of the small enterprises that we currently have. Thank you
for that. And just to remind us, we're getting to the Q&A. So if our engineers, sound engineers have another mic handy, if you could just shoot up your hand, someone will locate you, bring you. I see a man here with the fancy hat. He has a question. I see another. So let's be on standby there to just give them 1, 2, 3, and you can keep popping them up. Someone will locate you as we get into the Q&A, because Samuel here will be concluding, as well as Sylvia, this panel discussion on inclusivity. You have given a good challenge for beyond discussion, let's have action. That is to the stakeholders, the authority, and the representatives. But for you, and at least the people that you represent in this e-commerce space, what's your word, what's your call to action to them? Because there is power in numbers.
Okay, I would say they're doing a good job. They're doing a good job in terms of so far what has been achieved or attained. At least work is seen, and representing the people with disability, living with disability. I wouldn't say nothing hasn't been done, and just that there is a lot to be done, you know. Yeah, there's a lot to be done. And
to those people living with disability in the e-commerce space,
yeah,
is there something that they can collectively do?
Yeah, in the e-commerce space, because, for example, let's take a look at these spaces, the e-commerce spaces. You'll find some platforms, I won't mention names, some platforms you'll find they are good looking, even in terms of appearance, yeah. But you'll find even in terms of like the presentation, they wouldn't have like involved people. They wouldn't have the inclusivity. So you'll find it's only, I would say it's only a smaller percentage that has followed the rules. You get me?
To make it easy for you to navigate.
To make it inclusive. So I would call upon the e-commerce space, at least do something, and you'll see the results. Yeah.
Sylvia, EcoFresh co-founder, a young lady, youth representative. What's your call to action to the demographic that you represent in terms of collaboration? You can pass her mic, please.
As a young entrepreneur, what I will do, first of all, I will call to action about the skills, because technical skills for the different e-commerce shop, because they say information is power. So if the young entrepreneurs are informed, I think it will be the best. They will improve. The other thing I would say, we should create more awareness of e-commerce, because as much as people they have their shop there, you can tell it even from GG. The advertisement, they don't have inch marketing strategy. So as the BrighterMonday have taken up to educate youth and empower them, I also wish for the other platform like Jumia, GG, like you have you're part of educating youth. Because if you have only one who is doing that, I don't think e-commerce will improve. So as much as, because for now I can feel like so many people are joining the apps. So it's good to create awareness, give them technical skills. Because as much as we want to know, we want to learn, we want to improve, some of us lack that skills. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Sylvia. So we saw some questions. I'll start with the, do you have a mic? Who has a mic? We saw 3 hands go up, so please give him a mic. No, it wasn't him. At the back there with the hat, then next to him. Your name, who you represent, at least what you do, and the question you're directing it to the panelists.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jasper. I represent Pat Kira. We are a manufacturing company. We deal in leather products. And I'm proud to say that I'm part of the first cohort for this training, which is a very, very wonderful thing. My question, I would like to direct it to both Gigi and Jumia. As a producer, as a manufacturer, I feel that every single time that we are talking about e-commerce, the focus is always on the end product. Say, for example, in my end, the focus for the e-commerce platforms is the shoes that I produce. But for me to produce these shoes, there is a process that goes through it. There are machines that I need to be able to produce these materials and for me to be able to produce quality products so that I may be able to be in a market space where I can be very competitive. If I look at Jumia, for example, finding some of these machines becomes very, very difficult. What conversations are you guys having with stakeholders in terms of the manufacturers of these machines so that we can also be able to get these machines via your platform? Because from experience, it's very easy to deal with a platform that you are used to as compared to going to other platforms that in case anything happens, it becomes a task for me to be able to just make sure that I get the product that I ordered. So what conversations are you having as Jumia, as Gigi with these manufacturers so that you can also be able to get these machines via your platform? And I'd be very, very happy to engage with you probably in future as Jumia B2B, get the products, bring them to us, we'll be able to purchase them, because this will enable us grow and scale up, and in the end of the day, it will also help us employ more youth. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Let's answer that and then move to the next table. We'll start with Helen and then.
So in terms of the vendors that we have on the platform, it's a marketplace. We are open to anyone who is willing to do business with us. So in terms of specific machinery, for example, in your case, it would mean that we'll just look at an interest, a demand from our consumers, then we can have conversations with the relevant vendors to be able to meet that need. So at the moment, we do not have the need for leather, but it's something that I can take up and give feedback. But I will take your number, then we can take it up from here.
Golubev?
Yes. So what can I add to this is that on Gigi there is quite a number of different items and quite a number of categories which include the heavy machinery equipment, the commercial equipment, and I can even give you the case. Recently, we've got a client on Gigi that we've been interacting personally, that he got some support to build some factory, and another client to build some hospital in Congo. And they just recently arrived to Kenya, and they search for the equipment on Gigi to buy the equipment from their local supplier, maybe from the Kenyan supplier, maybe from the Kenyan importer, and to bring it to Congo, right? So I cannot say that there is no supply on the platforms. You can still find, you can find it on our platform, you can find it on other platforms, or you can even let us know where we can find those suppliers and how can we educate them to come and sell on Gigi, right? We are constantly looking for those suppliers. If they don't show up to us, that means maybe we should show up to them, right? And this is number 1 point. And number 2 point, I believe there is a lot to be done to build the extremely high-level intergovernment collaborations and agreements which will enable the trade between the countries, right? Like I was recently given the interview to the China Today, and they've been asking me why there is no Chinese suppliers on Gigi. Why don't we just add them to your platform and make local buyers to buy the goods directly from China, like heavy machinery, like commercial equipment? I would be happy for that, right? I would be happy if there will be items from the US. I would be happy if there would be items from the China, but it's not us to come to the China and start building those relationships. We need to see the potential market to come to the Kenya, meet all of us, meet with the potential market, meet with the suppliers, and explain to the suppliers, this is the way forward, and this is how you can sell your goods efficiently in Kenya. We are helping so many importers that import stuff from Europe, from US to sell goods on Gigi, but I mean, this is extremely small percentage. This is not whatever we can achieve. I believe together we can achieve more.
Much more. And Bonafenual representing the PS for trade. I'm sure this is a conversation that is ongoing. There's a gentleman there who had his hand up on this.
I'm here.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon. I don't know if it's morning or afternoon. My name is Francis Matete. I'm an insurance agent and a BWD. I have 3 questions. One, it goes to the guy from the government. You see, as an MSME, you don't just wake up and start a business. You may have the idea, you need to have funding. What programs do you have in terms of funding? Most of these guys who don't have money and they have ideas to start up a business. Number 2 is I want to go to Gigi and Helen of Jumea. In this country, you have never missed a WhatsApp group, either for baby shower, sickness, or death. Insurance addresses all that in a fraction of a few years. Do you only deal with services or products? I have to sell, I'm exporting maybe meat to China, or I can actually come and say, can somebody get a medical cover through your services? Last, when I see Bright Monday, when I finished university, I took my CV there. Although I never got replies because I trained as a teacher. So if I could get marketing and so they never replied. So I've seen the CEO here. I want to be very specific about BWDs. When I'm driving on the road, I listen to Classic FM, listen to BrighterMonday advertising. I've never heard them be specific about BWD. Can you just have a category of we only need people with disabilities? This company wants ABCD, but with people with disabilities, specifically that. Thank you, very important.
Thank you, Francis. Since the mic is close to Chris, he could start with the answer there. Sorry, Chris, I know I needed to give you a few minutes to...
No, thank you so much. And it is indeed a conversation we've recently been having. BrighterMonday Kenya is certainly concerned that we don't think we're as inclusive. So only a month and a half ago, we actually hosted a roundtable of stakeholders in the disability conversation and inclusion conversation, or rather diversity and inclusion conversation. And so we actually do have plans to deepen our inclusivity in that space. We will create a page specifically for persons with disability. We're looking to partner with organizations like Light for the World. This is why Light for the World is here today. Because as part of Brighter Monday's programming, we actually brought them in to educate us on how to make sure this program is inclusive. So baby steps, like my colleagues on the panel, this is just the beginning, but we are actioning already. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Wananjue, to that question from Francis about funding especially.
Thank you, Francis. I think as government, there are various programs to support MSE. I think government realizes one of the key challenges MSMEs face is actually access to affordable credit. And one of the key areas, as you've seen, as the government came in, was the creation of the Financial Inclusion Fund, which you all know as the Hustler Fund. And this has been targeting young entrepreneurs to provide them loans at affordable credit and easily accessible through the phone or an online platform. So various products are being created. I think we have already the individual loan, we have a group loan product, and I think they're still coming up with better products, and I think they might even come up with a product for MSMEs. So that's one of the funding programs that government has started. We have other various programs that have already been in existence that have been supporting entrepreneurs. We have the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. We have the Uwezo Fund, the Women Enterprise Development Fund. This has been providing loans to this specific cadre of people, especially women, youth, and the Uwezo Fund that includes the persons with disability. They've been giving loans at quite affordable rates, both to individuals and to groups to start and grow their businesses. So these are some of the facilities that government has been using. As the authority, we also have a program that we run known as the Kenya Youth Employment and Opportunities Program. We provide grants of up to 40,000 to youth. You have given 40,000 to start a business. It's a grant and not a loan, and we provide to youth. The program was running in 17 counties, but I think it's going to be upscaled starting from September under a new program known as Nyota. So it will be giving grants to all youth within the 47 counties of Kenya, from aged between 19 to 35 to 29 years. So we have specific government programs that have been providing specific funding opportunities to MSMEs at affordable quality rates. Also, as the authority, we've been having partnership with various financial institutions, and those that MSMEs that have formed associations with us or have worked with us, we try to negotiate with the financial institutions when they go to apply for loans so that they can give them at a negotiable or an affordable credit facilities. So those are some of the programs that government has ongoing in terms of supporting MSMEs. The conversations are still ongoing on coming up with better and more programs so that now we can be able to increase. There's also another program for the people in the manufacturing under the Kenya Industrial Estate Program. They provide incubation facilities and also loans to young industrialists or people who are in the manufacturing space. So these programs are out there. I think we need to create more awareness so that people can know that government is providing support to MSMEs in these various forms. Thank you.
Perfect. And Francis as well from the insurance sector asked a question to Jumia and Gigi on, are you just a product, a service? Can someone come in, like for instance, a cover and put it on your platform?
Yes, you can. So within the Jumia ecosystem, we have a financial service called the Jumia Pay, where you can pay for your utilities, you can buy and sell insurance, you can be able to do that, and we cross-market it across the ecosystem, so you have the same access to the number of visitors that we have on the platform, get to see this as well.
Yes, to add on this, first of all, we would be happy to promote such programs of the government on our platform, if there is any, and we would be really grateful. It would be a great opportunity for our sellers, I guess. Number two question is that, yes, you can find services on our platforms. Yes, there is plenty of services. There is hiring services. There is all types of products and services that are existing in the space you can find on our platform. There is another question that it's still early days for the e-commerce in Kenya. It's still early days. And when we are looking at the verticals, like some specific verticals for services, for the cars, for the property, we see that the market is not there yet, right? We see some of the verticals that got closed recently. We see some of the service vertical that got closed like 2 or 3 years ago. And why do they get closed? Because I believe there is still not enough demand for that, for the online. People don't want to buy services online, or it's not like they don't want, but their volumes are not that huge to keep the platforms alive, right? And coming from the education part, coming from the trust part, if we build all that, if we promote it, if we show the difference and we show them the right product to use and we assure them that by using such products that would be safe transaction, definitely it will grow. So we are 100% up to grow in the service category, but unfortunately for now we don't see a huge demand, meaning people don't just need it.
All right, there's another question. There's a mic. Let's give a lady first. Please get a mic to this lady in the mustard. I think that's mustard. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. My name is Edna, and I work with DHL. I manage trade facilitation projects across sub-Saharan Africa. So my question goes to Reynold. And Reynold, Kenya is party to several trade agreements. Now my question is, what initiatives has the government put in place to sensitize SMEs on how their products can get preferential treatment in foreign markets, and particularly within Africa? Thank you.
Go for it. Mike.
Thank you. Some of the initiatives that we've undertaken, especially after the AFCTA policy was put in place, we do sensitizations to MSMEs in all our centers, at least in each county, and especially the border counties. We sensitize MSMEs on what are the requirements for you to actually benefit from the AFCTA programs. And when the Ministry of Trade has any other policy or agreement that is involved, we partner with them. They also provide sensitization to some of the traders and business people on how they can benefit to some of these. So there's a lot of sensitization and awareness creation that we create, especially at the local level. For our end, we do it at our centers. We call all the MSCs that we work with and we sensitize them. We have a program specifically on sensitization on cross-border trading and what are the requirements that you need, especially in terms of trade agreements. But the main focus has actually been on the AFCTA program currently, that we've been sensitizing a majority of our MSMEs on that. Thank you.
All right, there's a question right there, and then we'll get to you, sir. There's a gentleman here, this table, with the hand up. Right there, behind. No, behind you. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Isaac. I'm the county coordinator for a program called Kenya Small Business Development Center, which is a USAID program that has partnered with Strathmore University. Our main passion and mandate is to walk a journey with the small businesses to just help them scale up and become more competitive. Indeed, I can confirm the sentiments that were given by Samuel and Sylvia, that on the ground, because now we are located in Kiambu County and another 5 other counties, the outcry is actually to these partners, for example, the e-commerce platforms, for them to come and actually give that information to the small businesses out there. My call to action would be for these partners especially, sometime when I am having the trainings, because I have trainings very so often, they are asking, how can we actually get onboarded to this platform? How can you get this support? My call to action would be, would you be open? This is Helen and Max. Would you be open, like whenever probably I'm having a training on digitization and marketing, would you be open to come and actually talk to them, engage with them one-on-one, understand their needs, and be there? I've heard you talk about the J agent force. Yeah, just would you be willing to come in and talk to them and give them that guidance and that support, so that at the end of the day, as they get the information that they can sell their product and their services on these platforms, they know that there's someone who is able to give them that hand-holding until they are able now to get to make that sale and get support. Thank you.
Yes, we would definitely be willing to support in that, and we are everywhere across the country, so there will be somebody, may not necessarily be Helen, but there will be a Helen within that region where you need the help.
Yes, just tell us where and when, and that's it. And we will come. I mean, definitely, this is our opportunity, and we keep telling everyone, invite us everywhere. let us be out there. We have vital information. We are open. We have a team on the ground whose main job is to educate people. We train them on how to educate people. So, I mean, let us know.
Let's talk. Get their business cards to this. There's a gentleman there with my hairstyle at the back. Hairstyle, it's not hard to spot. It's shining right there. And that's the last question.
I could, sir. Sir, that sounded a lot better. My name is Bugwa. I'm a technology.
Just if you could step forward, I think it's just a radius of, yeah, okay. Reach.
Great. So my name is Mbugwa, technology entrepreneur. So we're talking about platforms, and platforms and marketplaces collect a lot of data. And Max alluded to the question somewhat, and he said some verticals close because either there's no demand or there's no supply. But as platforms, you're sitting on a lot of information. Are any of you either outputting reports that could then inform investment? Because unfortunately, we are a nation of traders. It's only that gentleman who said, I'm making shoes. Most of us are in the kiosk business. I buy from China, I put a markup, I distribute. So are any of you, and it's all the players in the room from GG to Kilimall to Jumia, are any of you outputting data that can then inform an SME that it's almost July, you should probably think of getting sweaters, or it's coming to December, no one buys socks. You know, are any of you doing that and giving that to, it's great to train the SMEs, but data which they can't talk would be fantastic to have.
Great question. You can start.
Yes, that's an extremely great question, because we also are thinking about the same, and we've recently just done the initiative to provide some information to our sellers regarding the automotive market. So basically, we're sharing the reports, we are sharing some exclusive data regarding which models, which makes, which cars are going on in Kenya, which cars are in high demand, which cars are in low demand, and what do you need to do to succeed in your cars business. But definitely, we cannot do it across all categories just in one time. So basically, I believe we will need some time, but if there is a demand for that, definitely that will be fulfilled. I'm 100% assuring you that we are working on it, and we are moving step by step, category by category. So the next one, I believe, will be the property, and then we can move to other categories.
So yes, so we have data and we have reports. The most recent one was in terms of rural penetration, e-commerce penetration within Kenya. I'm happy to share that with you. Something interesting that came out of that is how beauty and the category on beauty and personal care is the fastest growing outside Nairobi. And ordinarily, people would think it's makeup, it's this, but it's your body lotions, things that we did not think about, that when you go to Shags, you think people want to buy tractors and solar panels, yet people are interested in beauty and cosmetics, and both male and female. So we have those reports, and we are happy to share. It's public information. I'm happy to share that with you.
Thank you for that. And there's a quick question online, because we are online, e-biz kwa vijana, hashtag. Again, as you follow the conversation, someone asks, I'll start with you, and I'll pose a question so you can think about it, because earlier you did say that it's a free service in terms of listing and putting your product online on GG platform. Someone asked, as the GG representative, that's Maxim, for your product to be listed on GG, you have to pay a package, yet he is saying that someone can list as many products as possible without a paid package. So clarify on that. I showed you the question earlier. For Jumia, asked the rep why we have a high return rate for shipped products. I also have a shop there.
Okay, I had seen the question earlier, so I was ready for that. So in terms of returns, one of the things that we, to address the trust issue, we give customers a 15-day free return policy. So this is if I ordered a phone and I wanted a purple phone, yet I got a black phone, they are allowed to return. So within those 15 days, we will take it back, and it's at their discretion to return it. So what happens is that within those 15 days, customers have the liberty to change their mind. And there's nothing much we can do about it. We can't force them to keep the product. So that is to just make sure that it's the same way when you go into a supermarket and you check something, or maybe it could be faulty. So maybe I had a TV for 10 days and then day 11 it doesn't go on. So they need to return it, because that means that we're guaranteeing them that we're giving them quality. So it's both for the consumer protection and for us as well.
To Maxim?
Yes, regarding the question of the limitations on the platform, definitely there is some regions, there is some specific regions, and there is some specific categories that are not completely free, right? But I can assure you that in each category you have the possibility to post your ads for free, right? Definitely we need to figure out on how we're gonna prioritize sellers between each other, right? Because it's a fair competition. We're here to build the inclusive market for everyone, and everyone should have an opportunity to push and to sell their products faster or better than anyone else if he believes so. So that's why we've created an incredibly new system, the auction, built on auction, that allows sellers to promote their products based on the CTR level. Depends on how good is their product performs. If their product is well, there is an auction, you can place your auction and you can sell it. You can sell it faster. Depends on how fast you want to sell. If you want to sell your car, for example, for 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, you can just put it for free and you can sell it, right? But if you want to sell your car in 1 day, that means you're a commercial seller. That means you want to make money out of your engagement. That means you're having some margin, right? So Gigi also give an opportunity for the paid sellers. So let's divide these audiences. There is a B2B audience and a B2C audience. Anyone who is selling his second-hand goods, who is not in a rush, it's open. Come and sell. You can sell it on other platforms, like the Meta platforms, our friends, right? You can sell it on Gigi. Depends where you like. Depends what is open for you. But if you are the commercial seller, right? If you want to grow your business, we highly recommend you to use our premium subscriptions, just only because it helps you. We teach you on how to monetize your business online, right? So that's the idea.
Thank you, Maxim, and thank you, Helen, thank you, Samuel, thank you to Mr. Njue and Sylvia. Let's give a round of applause to my panel. And before we get to the launch point, just to the ladies and gentlemen behind the cameras, I'd just like to give an opportunity for a photo op for this panel. You can remain seated just for that. For those who are in charge, just to accommodate the panelists, as you give them a hand. They have responded to many of your questions and are still open to it. I'm sure online they'll continue. So the camera is right there. This is just to be accommodative of Samuel. That yes, umeridhika na picha? Uko sawa? You're good? You're good with the picture? You okay? We can move on? All right, thank you, thank you. So asante sana to Sylvia, representing EcoFresh Cleaning Services. She's a co-founder representing women and the youth in the e-commerce space as she takes her seat. Santeni sana, give her a hand, tafadhali. Thank you to Bwana Reynold Jue. He's the Assistant Director at the MSE Authority. Thank you so much for your time. Maxim Golubev, he is the Regional Manager at Gigi. Give him a hand as he takes to a seat. Thank you to Samuel as well as he makes his way off stage. He is a Fenac Enterprises CEO, and I'll invite someone to bring the podium because we want to have the speeches now. Probably place it on that end. Please assist him. And thank you as well to Helen Nganga, who is representative from Jumia as a CMO. Give her a hand as she takes to her seat and her sit position. So I'd like to call upon guests of honor and just to have the podium be placed on stage because he'll have a speech to read or remarks. And this is, gentlemen, I earlier mentioned would be
probably taking selfies with me on stage. I didn't do quite a good job earlier, Dave. So tafadhali, a round of applause to David Gosney. He is a USAID Mission Director. As he takes the stage, this is your microphone. There you go. Yes. And he has very short remarks, so I'm gonna take a selfie here because I didn't do a good job earlier. So accommodate some of you. There you go. Thank you. And I will post it online. Karibu to Bwana David.
Great, thank you. Habari zenu. Well, first, since we're giving rounds of applause and thanks, a big round of applause for Mark and just a tremendous job with our panel. Thank you very much. Also, want to recognize Chris and the tremendous work that Brighter Monday has done to have us all come together today in partnership. So, Chris, thank you, and a round of applause as well. Obviously, we've talked about the importance of this partnership. And I also want to recognize the government counterparts that have joined us here today. Fanfo from the Ministry of Trade and Investment, Dr. Stephen from the Ministry of ICT, and Raymond, who is up here on the panel from the MSC Authority. So again, indulge me in a round of applause for them as well. Thank you. I also want to recognize, what was already highlighted here on the panel and was mentioned, the private sector partners we have in the room. I've heard to date MasterCard, Meta, Google, all well-known international names, but I also really want to highlight the local partners here. This is something that's particularly of interest and focus for USAID currently in the work we do around the world. The term we use, the development term we use is localization, but it's identifying those local partners and how we can partner together both, not just with our international partners, which bring tremendous value, but local partners as well. Safari.com, Juma, Gigi, Kitami, Zeru are just a few that I've heard today, and very much look forward to the conversations and following up with you. Indulge me just a little more, if you will, and let me recognize the USAID team that we have here today. Richard, Audrey, Stephen, thank you very much for your work. I'm going to say a little bit more about what we're doing. Mark from Palladium, and we also mentioned our partner from Swarthmore University, and this is a theme I want to touch on a little bit about the work we're doing more broadly in this area. But lastly, but I think most importantly, I want to recognize all the entrepreneurs in this room, the so-called hustlers. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here today. If you'd let me zoom out just a little bit, I want to follow up on something that Maxim said, and something our Ambassador Whitman often references. Picture 2050. For the young folks in the room, that seems like a long way away, but for the youngest people in the room, that's about when you're my age, maybe, 2050, right? Really, you'll find out it's not that long, it's not that far in the future. The projections are in 2050, 1 in 4 human beings living on this earth will be here in Africa. 1 in 3 people of the working population will be here in Africa. That is both a tremendous opportunity. Why? Because when you think about what drives economic growth, really, you can kind of simplify it to 2 things. It's, the people, how many people do you have, and what's the productivity? But that also highlights one of the key challenges, that productivity piece, right? Part of the reason why we're here today, what defines productivity? Well, ICT plays a really important part in that. How effective, how efficient can people do their work? But most fundamentally, they need to be able to have a work. They need to be able to have a job. And that gets us to the challenge, a challenge here in Kenya, which I think everybody's all familiar with. It's estimated every year 700,000 people are coming into the workforce. And we were talking earlier amongst our group that it's estimated, I was told, up to 2 million people already are here and they've just given up because there's not, they feel there's not an economic opportunity. And that's a real challenge. But that's a challenge, I think, on why we're all here today, in part. And so now if you allow me to zoom down a little bit and talk about the U.S. Embassy here and why I'm here in this event as well. So here in USAID, we're just one part of the embassy, but we're one of the chief organizations of the U.S. government that delivers development assistance. And this is one of the core focus areas we're focused on, is how can we get more people to have jobs? And be able to live dignified lives, provide for their children, get them in school, provide food, and live prosperous lives here in Kenya. It's a fundamental core goal of what we're trying to achieve. We can't do everything everywhere, so we try to focus on certain areas. So where are we focused? We're focused on agriculture, textiles, health, provision of vocational training, and then critically ICT. And as I said, USAID is just one part of the embassy. You know, we're a primary part for development assistance, by no means the only one. And as I think you all know, we're very blessed to have with us Ambassador Whitman. Probably most of you know, but maybe don't, Ambassador Whitman is a leader within the business community, particularly the ICT sector. She led eBay. She led HP. She's one of the most powerful, well-known, well-connected individuals in the world in this sector. And she is hyper-focused on partnering together with the government, with entrepreneurs, with businesses, in order to provide economic opportunity here. And that provides us with a great opportunity, and why we're also focused on that as well. But what is our role, ultimately? And that's why I wanted to take a little time to begin to recognize everybody here in the room, because one of the key things, and we were talking about this earlier in a small group, one of the most important roles we try to play is that role of convening, enabling that collaboration. Because we know that if we're going to have an impact, we can't do it alone. And that's the theme I'll end up with. But we need to collaborate, we need to convene to achieve a certain objective. So what are those objectives? So I think we touched on some of the most important ones here today. One of them is looking at and enabling just investment. Okay, that's broader companies coming in, but it's also enabling people to access credit, have the funds they need in order to grow, have the resources, have the information, which is what we heard a lot about here today. And then we also need to have a right regulatory environment here. So thank you for that. I mentioned earlier that the Ambassador Whitman is hyper-focused on this. And in terms of investment, you know, she's planning to go to the US later in the year. She continues to bring and articulate the investment opportunities here and help us work with local organizations here. And if you're wondering why she sees the opportunities here, I'd encourage you to go on YouTube and Google Why Africa, Why Kenya? Or just Google it and you'll get a transcript. And you'll see the speech that she delivered at AmCham, which basically highlights some of the things I mentioned earlier and why there's such great opportunity here. But with opportunity, potential comes challenge, is already mentioned going forward. If you'd let me to then go down finally to sort of the last level, continue to drill down about why we're here today, as I mentioned, one of the things that we're working on with partners, as I mentioned here in the room, is enabling training, access to information to individuals, because ultimately it's individuals that make the change. So why have we targeted ICT? Why have we targeted e-commerce? Well, I think we heard from Helen, one of the reasons that was really impactful, that right now only about 15% of commerce takes place here through e-commerce platforms. Other countries are at 25% and beyond. Speaking personally, I would do 100% of my shopping through e-commerce, but I'm kind of lazy like that. And I find it very easy and convenient. But there's massive opportunity for growth, but there's another really important reason that was highlighted here today. And I want to recognize Francis for being representative and helping highlight it. And that's because e-commerce and use of ICT provides a vehicle to enable us to be very inclusive. We can include women, people from far reaches throughout Kenya, and people with disabilities. And that is a critical component for the work we do. And I would love to get a bit more information about both Light for the World and some of the suggestions for Brighter Monday about having specific pages. USAID, we recently launched a specific component of our work that's focused on working with the government on enabling particular people with disabilities to have greater opportunities. And would love to explore more how we might be able to partner with you all to get those concrete ideas and how we can move forward on that. So thank you very much for highlighting that as we go forward as well. And critically, we're here focused on ICT because we have good partners. Because ultimately here, our role as USAID, we're not the change agents. We're here to work together with you all. You all are the people that are going to change Kenya. You all are the people that are going to develop those opportunities in Africa for the 700,000 people coming in. And I just feel very fortunate to be able to be here in the room, to be able to work with partners like you, because we need to go together if we're going to be successful. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's a true honor and a privilege. Asante sana.
Asante sana, David Gosney, USAID Mission Director, for that. And thanks for giving me back my mic. But he'll be back for the photo session right after the launch. I'd like now to call on the representative for the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Trade, that is Honorable Alfred Kombundo, who was not able to join us, but is well represented by Fanuel Kidenda, the CEO of COMEX, which is Kenya National Multi-Commodities Limited. I hope I got that right. Give him a hand as he takes to the podium.
Thank you. So listening to the panelists earlier on today and the speech by Mr. Gosney, I think there isn't much left to say. So I'll dive into this just to ensure that I'm not the one holding you from your lunch. So allow me to adopt the protocols from Chris Otundo earlier on, but in the same breath, allow me to acknowledge Mr. David Gosney, Director of USAID Mission, and the USAID team that's here today. Mr. Chris Otundo, CEO, BrighterMonday, and the BM team, leaders and members of the E-Trade Alliance, distinguished panelists, my colleagues in government, leaders of big corporations, MSMEs, young entrepreneurs here, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, or is it good afternoon? It's a good afternoon. So allow me to start by thanking you for this opportunity to represent the PS for Trade. Today he was unable to be here because of other pressing engagements. But again, this event is important in that it marks yet another milestone in a relationship between the US government and the government of Kenya, and of course the private sector and development partners in terms of our collaboration and development. I'm delighted to be here to witness the launch of the e-biz kwa vijana project, which we believe will disrupt in a positive way the way our young entrepreneurs handle the business. Before I go into the details, perhaps allow me to build on some of the statistics that were shared earlier on by Mr. Gosney. Many of you would have heard that Africa is considered the next frontier for investment and trade. It's not a lie. We have the youngest population in the world. It's estimated that about 70% are below the age of 35. We have the largest deposits of minerals on the globe, and 60% of our land mass is arable land, hence very suitable for agriculture. We're in the cusp of creating the largest free trade bloc with a market of 1.3 billion people and a combined GDP in excess of 3.4 trillion US dollars. But equally true is the sad reality that intra-African trade still lags at below 3% by some accounts. Yet Africa offers the largest emerging market in global value chains. So how does Kenya fit into this? Kenya's population is estimated about 50.6 million. It's growing at 4.8% per annum, and over 65% of our population is younger than 35 years. Last year, our GDP was about 108.7 billion US dollars and growing at 5.3%. If you compare this with the ESC growth rate for GDP, which is at 4.9%, and the sub-Saharan average of about 3.7%, it tells you that Kenya is growing above the average growth rates. If you look at the services sector in Kenya, it contributes roughly about 40% of our GDP, and other key sectors include agriculture and manufacturing. We are a gateway to the East African community with a consumer population of about 300 million. And we are a hub for investment, logistics, and we also host many financial players within this area. If you look at the reports by UNCTAD estimates that globally e-commerce accounts for about 26.7 trillion US dollars, at least as at 2022. And the average growth rates are at about 20%. In Kenya, digital economy contributes about 7.7% of our GDP. We have an internet penetration rate of about 86% and an e-commerce penetration rate estimated at about 43.2%. We know that 29% of our population lives in urban areas. In terms of what the government is doing towards e-commerce, we have what is known as a Kenya 2030 vision for e-commerce. And the vision there is to mainstream e-commerce within the overall economy. Some of the key policies and strategies that have been put in place include the Kenya Vision 2030, the National Trade Policy of 2017, the Digital Economy Blueprint of 2019. We have the East African Commerce Strategy of 2022. And of course, back home, we have the Kenya National E-Commerce Strategy. We also have a startup bill that's also working its way through Parliament and the Senate. So towards attaining this vision, the government is investing in infrastructure development, in market improvement, in skills and technology upgrading, in improving financial transactions, and improved public-private partnerships for e-commerce and the subsector to thrive. We have the Konza Technopolis, which is one of the flagship projects that government is investing in. It will create a smart city and a hub for innovation and entrepreneurship driven by green energy. Over 92% of energy generated is from renewable sources with a target of 100% by the year 2032. So far, over $800 million US worth of investments have been committed there. And we will see full stock software engineering companies, quality assurance, artificial intelligence. We will see cybersecurity, e-commerce, fintechs, agri-tech, sales and marketing, and finance jobs being created there. I think my colleague from the Micro and Small Enterprise Agency spoke earlier about ICT hubs and business development centers, which are being set up in each ward. We also have the Huduma centers, through which the government is providing services, both to business and the general population. We do have the KenTrade single window that's used for trade facilitation. And then within the Kenya Revenue Authority, we have two platforms. We have the Integrated Customs Management System, and we also have the ITAC system, which is also assisting in terms of providing services. Our trade policies underscores the role of e-commerce in terms of our economic development. And as government, we plan to help digitize MSMEs to boost the national productivity and transform the economy through capacity building. Now, if you bear in mind that SMEs contribute about 35% of our GDP and employ about 80% of our workforce, then these interventions are geared towards increasing the domestic and export market capability and ensuring that they create jobs for our youth, as well as help us to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. In line with the Kenya Digital Economy Blueprint of 2019, the GOK is committed to expanding the current fiber optic backbone infrastructure coverage from 9,000 to 100,000 kilometers over the next 5 years. So what are some of the challenges that we are observing within this particular sector? Perhaps this is some feedback to those who are already in this particular space. So issues such as vetting of those that you onboard onto these platforms. I think that's a key thing that you need to take home. how do you verify to ensure that whatever is being offered is actually there? And that whoever is offering it is doing legitimate business. That's an area you need to look at. How do you ensure that standards are being maintained? And certifications are there for whatever is being sold online. We've seen issues such as impersonation. I can speak from personal experience. There are instances where I've actually gone to a mobile app to hail a cab through a digital platform, and the cab that comes does not bear the registration that is on the app. So the issues around impersonation, and there's a need to address such issues. I think some of you have also heard of cases where maybe you order pizza, the pizza comes upside down. How do you ensure that standards are maintained in terms of delivery? But then there are opportunities. The opportunities that we're seeing a lot of growth in the area of retail. We're seeing supermarkets adopting a lot of this. We're seeing opportunities in areas such as hospitality. I think many of you who travel book the hotels online and even pay through mobile platforms. We're also seeing quite a bit in transport. Perhaps not so much in cargo transport, but in human transport, we're seeing a lot of e-commerce. Again, earlier on, it was mentioned that in terms of the reach across the country, it's not been great. It's mostly within the urban areas, and maybe there's a reason for that. And perhaps our friends from the private sector would be able to engage with us to see what government can actually do to help address that particular challenge. I think other areas that are important to note include issues such as cybercrime. There is need to address that in the context of doing business. The issues around data protection. How do you share the data that you collect, what you aggregate through your platforms? And then the issues about access to affordable internet. Of course, there's competition. The moment you're online across the globe. So rather than maybe just think in terms of doing business in Kenya, your borders are expanded. And then issues around logistics, last mile. So you order online, and if it's not a service, if it's a good, then it has to be delivered ultimately. So how do you link between the platforms to ensure that the quality of service that you're getting on the platforms also translates to logistics? I would not do justice to this if I did not tell you about what the State Department for Trade actually does in terms of this context. So the State Department of Trade is one of the 3 pillars of the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. We set up pursuant to Executive Order number 1 of 2023, and the core functions are that of development and promotion of trade. So some of the areas in which we are involved include trade policy development, export development and promotion. We're in promoting e-commerce. We handle trade negotiations and advisory services. We're championing trade integration through COMESA, the African Continental Free Trade Area, the tripartite. We're also handling economic partnership agreements with different countries, both at a multilateral and bilateral stage. We also liaise and coordinate with UNCTAD and the World Trade Organization on trade matters. We enforce international trade laws, negotiations, and agreements. We are involved in protection of Kenyan goods against dumping and subsidized imports, and also recommending countervailing measures. We also coordinate a multi-agency task force on the elimination of illicit trade and counterfeits. And we handle liaison with international trade bodies for national development. Then we also handle weights and measures in trade. We promote wholesale and retail trade, and we promote fair trade practices and consumer protection. So under the Kenya Kwanza bottom-up economic transformation agenda, also known as the Better Plan, some of our key priorities include developing trade development and market interventions. And some of the sub-programs under that are the National Agriculture Input Subsidy, which we're supporting. And then operationalization of a warehouse receipt system and operationalization of the Kenya National Multi-Commodities Exchange. In terms of the priority value chains, some of these include meat, leather, and leather products, edible oils, garments, textiles, construction, building materials, tea and coffee, dairy, rice, and value chain aggregation centers. So as I come to a close, perhaps maybe just to speak to some of the key areas that government will focus on in terms of implementing the Better Plan. We're looking at creating transformative economic opportunities that are aimed at increasing employment for the most vulnerable members of the community. And I think this is where e-commerce will play a major role. A key plank of this strategy will focus on 5 key pillars: agricultural transformation, MSMEs, housing and settlement, healthcare, and digital superhighway, as well as the creative economy. To address the challenge of employment, we have the high value priority, the value chains that are there, and we're focusing on about 3 non-agricultural value chains, which include the blue economy, the e-mobility, construction and building materials. And as a ministry, we're also rolling out, in collaboration with the county governments, the county aggregation and industrial parks, which would be there across all 47 counties. This will be linked also to the warehouse receipt system and the commodity exchange. Finally, as government, we appreciate the strong support that we get from our counterparts from the US through USAID. And we believe that that support, which is seen through the launch of today's project, will go a long way in helping us meet our development goals. We remain committed to facilitating and supporting the private sector. We're happy to listen to any of the challenges that you're facing, especially if you can channel those through your associations so that we have cross-cutting issues to be addressed. In closing, allow me to congratulate all the partners in this particular project for this successful launch. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bwana Fanuel Kidenda. You can leave the microphone there, and I can invite the gentleman to help me clear the stage because we are at the launch stage, and then we'll have some photo ops. So Bwana Kidenda, you can take a sip of water, and you'll be back here just to take some photos with the other guests who are represented here. We have the insights that have been taken. Let me just clear the stage for these gentlemen. And I hope you've taken a photo or two just to put it online and share what you have. I know I'm definitely sharing the one I've taken with David. What's your handle, David? You're on TikTok, right? No, Dave, I mean, it's okay. It's okay. You're on Instagram? I need to tag your account.
You can tag my account on Facebook. I'm of that generation.
Are you still on Hotmail? Yahoo? I have a Yahoo. Don't feel embarrassed. I'm still on Yahoo, just for old time's sake. Yes. And the lady here who's behind the camera has a question, or?
No, it's not a question. You can tag David at USAID Kenya.
USAID Kenya. That's your handle. I'm gonna make you trend, don't you worry. All right, now the stage is free. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite us to countdown because this is the official launch of e-biz kwa vijana. You focus your attention on the screens here. We're going to have a countdown from 10, and Mark, my namesake, will tell me with thumbs up if you're ready. Are you? You're good to go. So ladies and gentlemen, you can opt to take a video of this as we launch it, formally e-biz kwa vijana, mapato mtandaoni, and share it online to all your followers and tag the necessary accounts. So ladies and gentlemen, please count down with me. We're counting down from 10 to 0, right? So ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the screen and count down together. In 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Ladies and gentlemen, officially e-biz kwa vijana has been launched. And thanks to you, this has been a success. And I'd like to, are we doing a second take? Was that a rehearsal? It's already happened. So we just keep that holding image on there, because e-biz kwa vijana, biz mtandaoni, pesa mkononi is what we are about. Inclusivity for the youth, for the women, as well as the people living with disabilities. So I'd like to call on Dave. This is not for another selfie. One selfie is good, just for the official photograph to represent the USAID mission. Please join me on stage. I'd like to call on Chris as well. Chris representing Brighter Monday. I'd like to call on Mr. Fanuel representing the PS for Trade, Honorable Alfred. I'd like to call on Stephen Karanja representing Engineer Tanui from the Ministry of ICT. I'd like to call on my namesake, Mark Lawrence. Please join me here, E-Trade Alliance Coordinator, and Sylvia Mbavu. You still here? Yes. Sylvia Mbavu as well to join us on stage. Yes, we need inclusivity, gender inclusivity. Thank you for representing us, Sylvia, for that. So, gents, let's let her stand in the middle, please. Yeah. She'll be the apex of this picture. Yes, thank you, Chris. So, officially, we have launched e-biz kwa vijana, and I hope you're happy with that standing position, at least to capture that moment. And they will be joined as well by those who are from the MSME sector or project beneficiaries. If you know you're a project beneficiary of what we've launched today, and MSME member, we had at least 2 on the panel. You could please join us for this photograph. If you're from the MSME sector, I believe we had at least 8 representatives from the MSME sector. Please don't be shy. It's just a photo. We're not asking you to give any remarks. I heard 1 or 2 people say they are beneficiaries of the project. Jasper, if you were, yeah, I remember your name. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the Leatherman himself, Jasper. Give him a hand as he joins us here on stage. These are beneficiaries from the program, as well as Francis, who had quite some pressing questions there to ask earlier. He represents the insurance sector. If you know you are a beneficiary from this particular initiative that we are launching today, and you're representative of the MSME sector, ladies, please, thank you. Let's give a hand to the ladies. I don't know why they didn't want to join us, and I knew it was you. I was coming to you. So yes, thank you so much. Just help me with the seats there, just to represent everyone who's joining us from the MSME sector, as well as the project beneficiaries. And the people who are behind the camera, if you'd want to take that photo, this is your moment. Thank you for that. Smile, come on. You could smile. Yeah, there you go, there you go. Thank you so much. I'll ask those who are seated, you can have a seat. Those who are seated, you can have a seat back to your table, because the gentlemen who are standing, don't be too tired. The beneficiaries, the MSMEs, you can have your sit. Jasper, sir, you want to stay on? Okay, you can stay on. You're good. You're good. No, you don't have to remove the chairs, because there's some other people, partners, who are joining us for this photo. I'd like to call on Gigi, representation. Gigi, are we still in the house? Yes. There you go. Maxim from Jumia. These are collaborators that we are joining. Maxim in the house. Maxim in the house. Pigiami representation. Pigiami representation. Please join us on stage for this photo. Wild. Wild. Please join us for this photo. Thank you, Chris. And Kili Mall. Kili Mall. Kili Mall. Yes. All right. Amcham in the house. Amcham in the house. Amcham in the house. All right, Light for the World, you were mentioned earlier. I know this gentleman, the one in the shop. Yeah, karibu, karibu, karibu. We can add probably 1 or 2 chairs on the wings here, please. One chair, tafadhali. Mtu ongeze tu hapa moja upande huu. Upande huu, asante sana. Thank you, sir, for that. So Gigi represented, Pigiami represented, Wild, Kilimall, Google. Google in the building? Google, please join us. Jumia, Light for the World, Safaricom. Fozia, please, join us, just a picture. Sogope. Amcham, yes, I've seen Amcham, Light for the World. I've seen them. All right. Fozia, watakuketi ama utasimama? Utasimama. Sawa, sawa. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the collaborators, many of them partners in this launch, so let's give them a hand as well as they give you the best smile. Is that the best smile? Go, come on. There you go. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. You may all have your seats. We have captured the moment, the successful launch of e-biz kwa vijana. You'll have a lot of opportunity to network and also, exchange contacts over lunch, which we'll have at Baluba Restaurant on 2nd floor. As I get help to clear the stage, I'll just call on the lady who started us off. That is Sylvia Mbabu. I'm sorry to, Sylvia Mbabu, just for the vote of thanks. Sylvia Mbabu is a BrighterMonday East Africa partnership lead, just to give us a vote of thanks, and then I'll give you direction as to where we go after this.
Thank you very much, Mark. Mr. Chris Otundo earlier said that the introduction is the hardest part. I'd want to challenge him. I think this part is harder because you have to remember everyone to thank. So please, in case I don't remember to mention everyone by name, just know by virtue of being here, we really appreciate your presence. However, I will take a stab at it. Let's see how I do. Okay, so first off, I'd like to thank our chief guests, mostly for their commitment. It's been a while since I have been at an event where they stayed from the start to the finish of the launch or any other kind of workshop or gathering of stakeholders. Ladies and gentlemen, let's appreciate them. The USAID Mission Director, Mr. David Gosney, and the CEO for COMEX, Mr. Fanuel. Asanteni sana. Thank you for staying with us till the end of this. I would also want to thank all the other government representatives that are here with us today. We had Bwana Stephen Nganga. Thank you very much for representing the Ministry of ICT and Digital Economy. And still under that, we had the Communications Authority of Kenya represented. We had the Data Protection Authority and Office of the Data Protection Commissioner, represented here today. We also thank them for their presence. We also had with us, still from the government, the Ministry of Cooperatives and MSMEs represented through MSEA. Thank you very much for being here with us. And still under government, we had the Ministry of Youth Affairs under the State Department of Youth Affairs. We would want to thank very much the E-Trade Alliance, our partner. Thank you for being here with us, represented by Palladium. We also have the 5 panelists that were here up on stage. You have to agree with me that it's never easy to talk, not just talk to strangers, stare at faces, looking at you, and still get over that and be able to share your insights, very insightful information that we got. And thank you for accepting to represent the various sections of the e-commerce landscape in Kenya, so that we have all these issues that are impeding inclusivity in the industry brought out. Next, I would also want to thank all the e-commerce stakeholders, right from the e-commerce platforms, the digital marketplaces that are represented here today, fintech solution providers, e-payment service providers, logistics service providers, and also last mile express courier service providers, and also most importantly, the MSMEs who are the reason we were here today. Thank you all for coming and representing the various sections of the e-commerce landscape. I would also want to extend our appreciation to the different collaborators that have come up on stage that were mentioned earlier. The TATC, we had Google represented here. We had PGME, World International, our upskilling partner. We had Kilimall, Gigi, and Jumia, who have been very instrumental, as I said earlier, to come up with curriculum development and ensuring that the onboarding of these MSMEs is as practical as possible, but also ensuring that the journey after onboarding into their marketplaces is successful for all the MSMEs. We thank you greatly. Also part of our collaborators, Light of the World, we mentioned earlier, is our inclusivity partner, keeping us honest to our commitment to be as inclusive as possible in all the interventions that we have. Last but not least, I would want to thank the coordinating team who made this event possible, sending out invites, following up with participants. You do know that just a few weeks back, we had demonstrations happening every Wednesday. At some point, it was every Wednesday to Friday, and because of that, we had to move the event. However, despite that happening, definitely that clashed with some calendars, but we still were able to engage with participants and get representation from across the e-commerce ecosystem. Thank you very much to that coordinating team led by Jacqueline and Vanessa. Asanteni sana. Our service providers, thank you so much for also making this event a success. And one person that is usually forgotten a lot in the appreciation list, our MC and moderator, Bwana Mark Masai. A lot of applause, please, for him. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark, for making the flow of the event go well and ensuring that, well, we went over time, but we were also late. We have to agree with the participants. So thank you, Mark, for that. So in case I didn't mention anyone, please, this is for all of us. So the final round of applause for everyone who made it here today. Asanteni sana, sana, sana.
Thank you so much, Sylvia and Babu. And I mean, I don't know if you've watched what, you're very modest, but Snoop Dogg, I happened to watch some of the clips. There's this famous video, he said, "I like to thank me." So Sylvia and Babu, since you didn't thank yourself, I want us to also give her a hand and appreciate Sylvia and Babu, partnership lead for BrighterMonday East Africa, and I'm sure she's also part of the coordinating team. So ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure being part of this launch moment. For the gentlemen who are here giving remarks, we're going to have a few minutes on the third floor. Chris will be with you just for an interview with the Fourth Estate that have a few questions for you. So Chris will be headed with you to the third floor and we'll take you to that room. For the rest of us, as you head out, we're going to Baluba Restaurant, which is on the second floor. You'll have a voucher or card handed to you that you'll go with to the restaurant, Baluba Restaurant on second floor. The ladies and gentlemen from the coordinating team at BrighterMonday on standby just at the entrance exit right there. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being a good audience and contributing, for the panelists, and also just bearing with me for rumbling on. Yes, we're a bit pressed for time, but we did start a bit later than scheduled, but now it is lunchtime. So ladies and gentlemen, enjoy lunch and the networking session. Let's keep talking online. e-biz kwa vijana keeps going online and the conversation continues. You have been live, so in case you didn't tell someone you're here, you have been seen. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good afternoon. My name is Mark Masai. It was a pleasure being the master of ceremony, part of this launch. Enjoy yourselves.